Hey watercolor artists, it's a fabulous day to paint and a fabulous day to paint a scene looking off a Barbados balcony into the Caribbean Ocean. I'll tell you the story about how I ended up there, how and why in a little bit as we're painting. But guys, for colors, it's all linked in the description below. You get the color mixing recipes and this traceable for free. I send it once a month. I call it a palette passport because we go to different destinations. So go there to get the traceable and the exact mixing, but we are going to have a few pastels. I have a turquoise blue. I have a cool lemon yellow. I have quin rose that I mixed titanium, buff titanium into. I have burnt sienna and I have Payne's gray. And I also have really tiny brushes. Don't ask me why I'm doing a 3x3 on this, but I am. You guys maybe want to do 6x6 or larger. I'm using fours. I have 4, 2, and 1. Okay, guys, one quick thing about perspective before we get started. Do you see this dot here? I have that there to be my vanishing point, sort of at the horizon back there. Sky, sea, and then I drew a vanishing point. So this is the beauty of one-point perspective, discovered by the fabulous time of the fabulous Renaissance era, Raphael and crew. It brings you back realistically into space. And this gives you a way to do it without being too technical. You literally just hold your paper onto it and draw your lines. Look, works for patio, works for the tiles in the floor, works for everything. So get that in there and or grab the traceable and let's get going. Okay, I'm gonna start by wetting my background and avoiding the doors. Okay, so let's do it. I'm gonna do just a medium wet back here, and I have a little blue already on my brush because I was mixing earlier. So yours should be clear, clean water. But that's okay for me because I'm getting a little pre-color in there. Okay, and I haven't erased anything yet. I'm going to. Okay, then drop in little bits, and I'm just gonna drop around, and I'm gonna leave, instead of pulling out some clouds, I'm gonna leave, like, sort of paint around some areas where clouds might be, like, sort of negative paint some clouds in. Maybe one there, a little bit over here, and then maybe here, and in a couple places I'm gonna get a little bit darker at the top, and then in a couple places we might want to dab around the bottom to create little shadows for the clouds. And just let it go, guys. We're not going to get a lot of big detail back there. Let's bring it all the way down to the line that you have between your sea and your sky. While we have this color, let's do the tiniest bit of swiping back in here. We're really just swiping it in there. We're going to be really kind of casual with this. Just make sure we can sort of see the sky in between these glass panes. Okay, perfect. Now, let's grab your ocean color. And I want to give you guys a heads up. We're going to leave a highlight of the sun somewhere maybe over here. I didn't want it exactly centered. I'm going to put it somewhere over here. Before we do that, guys, let's go ahead and erase some of our lines because everything's really dark. And I'm going to go ahead right away and erase the balcony marks because I'm not going to add those in later. We can just freehand those. And I'm going to take some of the snake plant and some of the other lines off before we get too much further here. Our ocean color. So you have mixed up ideally a real cool turquoisey color. Now I think I'm going to do it, like I said, over here. So I'm going to be conscious. Right now I'm doing my sea wet and dry. And I'll show you why in a minute. We're going to want to skip a little bit. We're going to use the brush on its belly and we're going to skip a little bit here. Make it a little bit less. We have those little areas there. And we're going to go across And I'm going to actually take, while we're doing this too, just to really get that idea that we're having a highlight of the sun, I'm pressing in. Look guys, I just pressed in a dry paper towel because I want there to be sun. This sort of on this part, just kind of, just a little reflection. And now we can continue across. Get that beautiful color in. And you can add a little bit more water now since we don't need to worry about the skipping around as much. Leaving white space. Let's go over here and just make sure we get a little bit of hints of the ocean in there too. We're not worried about getting this perfect. Don't forget, we're going to paint around our little lemons down here. A little lemon basket. And bring it all the way to the edge of the patio. We'll put, I just put a few dabs in here, not much. Leave a lot of that. Let's leave this almost entirely open for the hibiscus plant. Okay, this is really going to be gorgeous. It already feels gorgeous to me. I'm going to get a little bit darker of my ocean color and put that intentionally on the sides of where I wanted that reflection. So we're leaving that there. I'm making sure to stress that there is a lighter area. Okay, grab a little darker concentration, dry your brush, and grab a little bit of the ocean color, and then take it on the point, and let's just put a couple of lines into the area that we kept lighter. We'll just put some sort of waves, just randomly dropping a couple of darker areas. Okay, great. All set. Let's fully rinse your brush and start blocking in the patio. Hey guys, I am wetting the entire outdoor patio floor, balcony floor, and not super saturated, and I'm gonna leave a little buffer there, just at the sea line there, and I'm avoiding the pots. And you know what guys, let's go ahead and go for it and go up here too. We'll do the floor as well, the inside floor, the tile. Okay, so we'll just give that a second, and what we're gonna do is just gather like a bunch of grays. We're just gonna have fun with this. We're dropping random colors in random spots for the outdoor one. So pick a couple spots and just, let's say here, look, this is a really light Payne's gray. I'm now gonna go into the tiniest bit. I don't want much brown out here because we're gonna do a lot of brown in here. But let's get like and if you don't have a buff titanium, which is just really like a tan, then you can add in a little bit of yellow, just tiniest bit of yellow in some places. I'm gonna just put in, we're just gonna get the hint that there's a bunch of different stones out there. We're not even gonna overthink it. We're just gonna have fun with that floor. I wanted it to look like the outside floor. And we'll shadow, we'll throw in a little shadowing from this. Let's say, probably not, or maybe we have our shadow come in this way. So I'm making it sort of like a flagstone effect. And smaller, little tiny of our stones out here, just another little depth trick. So make them a little smaller out here, the little outlines, so that it looks like closer to us is larger. Okay, that's it. And then let's take a paper towel and go in a couple places. Actually, a Q-tip would be easier for this. I don't have one right here. So I'm gonna mash up my paper towel and just pull a little bit here and there of just white spots. I'm gonna take a dry brush and do that as well. I'm taking a different brush that's drier, and I'm just pulling out a little bit of color so that we have some spots that have like a highlighted area. So getting a little variation back there in the floor. Okay, perfect. Now, let's start with a really light wash of the burnt sienna. So really light. So a high water to lower pigment ratio. And guys, we could block these out with the crayon. Okay guys, here's the crayon trick we're gonna do. I did this in our France month too. Let's go take a white crayon. You could do white colored pencil. Something else you have, even like a little bit of wax. And let's just make the lines between the tiles, the grout lines. So, and I'm gonna make one across there. So there we go, and that'll just help us. And I'm gonna avoid them anyway, but that'll just help. Okay, so I'm gonna get a really light wash of burnt sienna and just kind of start washing that in a couple of pieces. I mean, really light. We don't wanna go like super hard the first pass. And we're gonna go in around here. And drop some in the corners. We'll add one little shadowing to this as well. I'm going to take a little bit of my pink that I have for later, and I'm going to throw that in just in a couple spots. See? We're just varying it up, like these saltillo tiles. And a tiny bit of Payne's Gray in a couple parts. A little deeper concentration. This is just our first pass of this, and we will go back in. This is wet. I didn't mention it, but it's wet on dry. And see, that crayon is helping us to block out. See, it's keeping my grout lines pretty nicely for me. Okay, while you have those colors, those terracotta colors handy and on your brush, let's go ahead and do the pots, and let's do them the same. So I want to do one swipe. I want to do them the same as the floor, but we're going to do them darker even to start. So this is wet on dry. And I'm just going to, this is burnt sienna. I'm just going to do one quick layer of that in for both, and then we'll start building it up a little bit. I am going to make sure I'm leaving the right side. We'll make this where the sun is hitting of each one of these a little bit lighter. So as we build it up, we're going to be building that up. And I'm painting around the, a couple of these, we have the snake plant going up into here. So I'm painting around that. Okay, I'm going to get a little darker. And maybe even a little Payne's Gray just for some really just to vary and give a couple little spots. So start that on the left-hand side. I have water. It's a pretty deep concentration of paint to water right now so that we can really get it in there. So let's brush that from left to right a little bit. There we go. And I will definitely want to get another pass. We're going to let that dry and get another pass in there. And I might throw a little bit more of like a reddish. In this month's palette passport, I have a Pyrrole Scarlet. So I may just drop a little tiny bit of that red onto my brown right now. Just to even more differentiate these from the floor. Okay, we are gonna let that dry. While we are, let's do the fun. Let's do these awesome patio doors. And let's do a really, I still have my number 4 brush. If you guys are working bigger, bigger than a 3x3, you might be using bigger, but I have a pretty decently small size brush for covering this area. And I want this to be a pretty light, like I'm gonna do real light. And this is just fun. We're literally just coloring in the lines right now. This is easy and fun. Just get in there wherever we have our door. Paint. And then we will, don't you worry. Now this side, we'll make, since the sun is coming this way in our painting, we're gonna make this side lighter overall and this side darker. So it's more in the shadow, but we're not gonna worry about that right now. Let's just get it in. Okay, back over here. Let's do that. Real light. I really have, I'm doing wet on dry, but I just have a really watery mixture of the pink, a light pigmented mixture. It's looking great on the door. Don't forget, we're really not painting much over here because we've got a lot of plants going on. Okay. One more little bit here. If you can see your lines, your little door lines there, you can get those in. With your pink on your brush, let's go back over here and drop in just a couple of places where it's going to be darker. And to darken, we're not just darkening it with the pink, we're actually going to use Payne's Gray to give it like a grayish shadow over here. But we're using this right now over here even just to brighten everything on this side. And don't forget to go all the way down. I forgot our middle bar there. Okay. We really should have some Caribbean or some steel pan. I told you guys I'd tell you why we were here. My husband's family is from Trinidad and Tobago, and they trace their roots back Barbados, Africa, and Ireland. So one of their family patriarchs was in Barbados. So we went so he wrote a book, a fictionalized book of his family history. It's amazing. So they allowed him to pour through sort of the records, and we were there for that and for crop over the big parades. It's so much fun. Okay, grab some Payne's Gray. A pretty watery mixture of it. And let's just brush. I'm taking the side of my brush and I'm just gonna brush a few areas in where there's a shadow. Maybe over here we can shadow a little where the pot is. And a couple places on this door that might see a little reflection from these. Not really. We're okay there. But definitely darker overall over on this side. So get a couple of swipes. I just mixed in Payne's Gray with a little bit of my original pink. I'm just swiping a little of that in. Sideways, using the belly of my brush, sort of dry brushing it over the top, glazing a little darker here. Okay. And guys, let's darken up the front tiles. And then also while we're getting those colors back, I'm gonna do some buff titanium and just kind of drop it in here where I left some areas where it should be kind of patio. So I'm gonna get that. Okay, I'm gonna get my burnt sienna and just I'm brushing sideways over the top in a couple places here. I don't want them all the same. I want to really vary all this up. Color. So right now I dipped into Payne's Gray and I'm just putting a little bit of there in the corners. I'm just sort of kind of outlining them as square shapes, as tiles. I like the way that crayon repelled the line, so we got to keep our grout lines there. I'm just dragging this across. There we go, guys. Now, you want to start with the green? I think we should. I think we should start with our greens because that's so fun. Okay, let's mix up. Let's get your sap green and your yellow. But I'm gonna do I'm gonna do wet and dry for my snake plant here. And I'm going to just get a first pass. I'm just fill in some lighter. And then I'm gonna grab a little darker of that and just kind of dot in some areas. We're gonna give the like a little bit of the markings on the snake plants. Let's get a little bit. I just mixed in the tiniest bit of Payne's gray with my sap green. I'm gonna do a little at the bottom of a couple of these, just right now, and then in the back right in here. Okay, let's leave that for now. We'll come back. Now, let's work on these hibiscus just as being like sort of coming up off of stalks, just so that's in where our shapes are coming. And just do this fun shaped leaves, just fun. Leave yourself some white around the outside of them. So by fun, I mean I'm doing kind of a heart shape. It's not really pointy. I'm just making sure to get a little bit in here, and then I'm going to get some back here behind this. A little bit here. And leave a lot of space because we're going to want to put our flowers too. We're sort of painting around. We're like negatively painting around the space where there's going to be flowers. Okay guys, I'm switching down to a number 1, so mine is really skinny now. I'm going to make this bowl and then the lemon. So let's do it also terracotta. And that'll just be a good tie-in to the other side. Okay, so I grab my terracotta color. And I've got the bowl. I'm going to do the table around it at the end here. I've got it kind of running out. Now, we are not going to stress these lemons. We're just going to make little tiny football-shaped lemons and leave a lot of white space. And then we'll darken up a couple of them. Leave some space for us to add leaves as well. I'll put one more here. Okay, that's it. That is it, y'all. Go back to your sienna and get a little bit of darkening under there. Okay, well, we've got that and a thin brush. We've got our sienna, and I'm going to put in a little Payne's gray. So I'm going to jump over here and just put in a couple of the darkest parts of our plant pots. Terracotta pots over here, and then get a line underneath the rim. And same thing over here. I want this one to be circular. I'm avoiding my green, and I'm gonna get a little line right under the rim. Let's do the hibiscus. So I want you guys to make yourself let's do orange. So let's grab a red and a yellow, make yourself a vibrant orange, or an orange if you have it straight out. And I am just taking my smallest brush, and I'm gonna do just the hints at these little hibiscus with darker centers. So I'm gonna kind of hint at that. Just hint that they are open and coming to the center. Random little stars, guys. And I'm not going to do any much more full than that. We'll do a couple that are just buds, but we'll just have those couple that are full, and then let's just do a couple of buds like over here smaller. I'm going to put one behind the window, so really stretched over here. Now get your Payne's gray with this same small brush, and pretty watery. I'm just going to make a little simple table circle, and we're going to add in our balcony too. And I'm going to do a little bottom of it, just like wrought iron, and then just 4 little legs. So easy. We're not worried about this. And then I'm going to just take what colors on the edge and kind of drag it to make it look, you know, those sort of glass there, and then darker around the rim. That's kind of what I tried to do there. Is grab some more Payne's gray, and then we're going to take that across the back. For this, I recommend using a straight edge, which I'm going to do as well, to put it like right about here. And then just paint it across. And then we can add a little highlight too. And then I might stretch mine across the windows too. Okay guys, super fun. We're gonna add our little palm tree coming down. And let's just, you can freehand it if you want to draw it first to give yourself a little guideline. You can go ahead and do that and put that in gently. So just drape a palm tree, and I'm gonna have a couple of things coming down the front there. Just a little bit, not much. I'm gonna start with my lemon yellow and just get a couple of things because I want some of them to look really yellowy. Really like they got hit by the sun on the end. So I'm taking the point of my brush and coming down, and I'm gonna push to create a little thicker, look, tip of my brush, pushing it to create a little thicker part and then skinny so that we've got a little variation. And then now I'm gonna get my sap green and we'll just have just fun. It's just fun. And then we can have a couple of maybe coming down the door here. Like peeking around the side of the door, maybe a little bit that kind of gives us a hint that some came into there. But we really want to get this looking not like cartoony green. We want to have some different variations because we want there to look like, there we go. How fun. Yeah, we definitely needed this. And then we want to have those, we'll do one there. And we want to have those areas that are sort of yellowy at the top, giving it a little highlight. I'm going to give it. Okay, while we have that darker green, let's go into all the foliage, including the lemons that we didn't add yet, and add some more. So let's go to our snake plant and drop in a little darker in a couple of places, the leaf that's behind, and for a couple of the markings. Get a little darker green on your brush, your darker sap green, strong concentration, and let's just tap in a couple of places where we want to have a little bit darker in a leaf. Maybe here, under here for sure. So I'm going to straight drop that into the bottom. Look, I'm just straight dropping green into the bottom, dark. I'm going to do that here too, at the bottom of this snake plant. And let's do maybe one tiny bit of that. Stripes of that just to make the palm tree look like we definitely know what we're doing. Okay, let's not forget our little lemon bowl because it will look so good with a couple of leaves in there. Let's put in just a couple of green leaves wherever you have space, wherever you love space. I'm gonna do one here, maybe here. And that's it. Just a little hinting that those are little leaves in there. Okay, one more thing, guys, to make that really sun idea pop out is to mix some Payne's Gray with your burnt sienna. And let's just create like a random shadow right here. Perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect, just something like that. And then, in fact, it doesn't need to be as dark. There we go. Last thing, you want to do a couple of things with a paint marker. We can. I'm going to dot a couple of my lemons to make them stand out randomly. I'm going to put a couple of dots in the hibiscus just to make that stand out. There, maybe one or two tiny, look, horizontal lines here. Just getting that even more so. The reflection in the sun. And on that note, let's do a couple of lines on top of our balcony. Maybe a couple glints over there. Just in a couple places, see? Good, guys. I hope you love it, and I hope you are inspired to travel to the Caribbean. I have a live class on this as well. Oh yeah, it's looking amazing. Look. I love the peeling at the end is really the moment. This is going to look great framed. I have these little wood frames I'm going to use for mine. Hope you guys loved it. Can't wait to see you next time. In the meantime, keep your mojo flowing, and I'll see you we have 4 amazing Caribbean month paintings. I'll see you for the next one.